and cater of water supply projects, of course, in addition to those going on in Tamale, Yendi, Damango, and so on. We'll accelerate our investments in roads, railways, and ports. And for the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbor in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast. It is very critical that we do that. An airport makes a lot of sense in Cape Coast. It's a real tourist hub, and between Greater Accra, Kumasi, and Cape Coast, you have a triangle that really is a lot of hub of economic activity. You can build railway lines between them, and it's a major growth pole if we put an airport here.
Welcome back from our first break. Actually, our lights went out. There was a power outage here just when we're about to move on to the very next topic. But welcome. I'm sure you've been following keenly. If you're just joining us, it's a matter of all talk shows, ALHAJI and ALHAJI. My name is Sena, Nombo. I'm in the studio with Komekwesi Pride Jr. Also, ALHAJI ABF Husseini. I have Dr. Mauto joining us, and Margot is sitting very close to me, Margaret and say. So that's the panel for today. We are moving on to the discussion over what has been indicated. Bloomberg is actually raising some questions about whether we will be able to raise some money on the international market if we go there. The Bank of Ghana also said something this week that a lot of attention was not paid to on what needs to be done in the 2022 budget. And this is from Business Ghana, who says use 2022 budget to reset fiscal policy to create credible path towards sustainability. That's the Bank of Ghana. And this is a quote from the governor. It says a lingering problem has been private sector credit growth, which has not fully recovered to pre-pandemic levels due to uncertainty surrounding the pandemic's trajectory. As the momentum in economic activity picks up, coupled with continued COVID vaccination efforts and demand for bankable projects increase, we expect private sector credit to rebound. The relatively strong performance of the economy in spite of COVID-19 was due to homegrown policies. Those are some of the quotes that are attributed to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, by essentially saying that we should look at our 2022 budget. So I'll start with Dr. Mauto, like I said. So, Doc, you said you have some comments to make, and then you can go ahead and make your substantive remarks on the second topic.
Well, I think that I was even so. I thought you would have Honorable Margaret answer that. You see, some of the statements when you're making it, when it's open, a lot of people are listening to us. I know it's just a politician. To say that the entire voter region was omitted from a budget. I think it was some specific items like road. So unless, apart from road, unless it tells me that nothing on voter region was presented in that budget. You see, and I thought you would have corrected her that there were other items in there. So the entire voter region was not omitted. Then there were some other issues like a statement made by Magu, my good friend, that whilst the country was fighting, COVID-19, military men were sent to voter region to go. I mean, that was not the case. We all know that it was a border issue. People were coming into the country through the borders. The western region, some part of the northern part of the country too. Some military guys were sent there. So military men were not sent there to go and fight COVID-19. But if my memory serves me right, the government sent some. They distributed a lot of COVID apparatus to every part of the country, so that we are able to prevent the COVID. Then finally, I think Magu mentioned something that schools, whilst people are complaining about schools, the government has not built any school. I mean, that can be true. But the buildings are there. Some have been built. And there have been a number of reports from the budget. Go to the Ministry of Education website. They are there. The numbers are there. So some of those open statements will make the government look like doing nothing. But I think there are reports to show that they are doing something. I guess that's cool with you, Magu.
When I have my time, I'll respond.
Oh, no. Yes. Then let's come back to the economy. In fact, the issue on whether we are going back to IMF for a bailout. It is no secret that currently economy is not the way we expect and projected. There are a number of factors that has adversely affected the performance of our fiscal performance, especially when the Minister of Finance came to my campus to make that pronounced statement. That yeah, it was on my campus,
UPSA,
and I was there. And to a large extent, the context within which he made it, even though some have been misconstrued, I think it was a candid advice he gave to our students to probably look at alternatives and not to depend so much on the government alone. Because the government, truthfully, none of the parties and none of government in every world could, even the best Western world, they can't employ their graduates. I mean, it is a whole concerted effort from the economy to get everybody employed. It also confirms the difficulties we are facing. So it is no secret that you have currently an economy, the first 6 months of 2021. Okay, the wage bill alone constitutes about 52% of our total revenue. 52, and that is way outside the norm, the benchmark for good, fiscal performance. Your wage bill constitutes about 32% of your expenditure budget. It is also way too high a budget. So these conversations confirm some of the analysis we normally make on weekly basis, on daily basis, when such figures are churned out. And it also confirms the fact that we looking at all the fiscal economic areas of performance. It is, even though people say we shouldn't talk about it, but we have to talk about it. It is part of it, because even IMF in their analysis will always tell you that COVID has caused so much blow to every economy in the world. So we need to talk about it. I will assess the performance, the fiscal performance of this government, taking into consideration where they started from and where we are now and what COVID did to it. Then you will be fair to the performance of this government, especially when you had a GDP of your country from 2017 performing, a bit okay in terms of increases. They were enhanced, got to COVID, and then COVID has to slash it down to 0.4. Tells you that COVID caused so much harm to our economy. And the issues of our revenues, when we have so much shortage in our revenue, obviously it will affect our economy. Now let's come back to the issue of IMF. Why do we go to IMF? And what do we do in IMF? We go for economic programs, and then you need to meet some level of fiscal performance to seek for some assistance from IMF, especially when it comes to issues of bailout. Are we there yet? The issue has to do with looking at your variables once again, Sena. In 2015, I followed the bailout. There were three major issues: debt sustainability. We also have other fiscal performances that were to be undertaken, and especially cleansing the banking sector. And they all have implications on our economy. The fortunate and unfortunate thing that happened was the last one, especially the banking sector cleanup, which to a large extent shifted a bit of our economic performance, especially in the financial sector, when some banks have to go under the sea by asking them to voluntarily fold up because of their indicators. We got to a country, it was an open secret that we were in a country where it got to a stage that you have your money in the bank, and when you go for your money, they'll tell you that you don't have enough money, so please go and come back. And some banks, they were rationing withdrawals. So we also, what happened, the banking sector cleanup was completed. So we were expecting that the economy, okay, will probably boom onwards, which was also evidence in our indicators. Interest rate coming down, and then confidence in the bank started rising again, until COVID came in, when we have to spend so much money and then also lose some revenues, as well as our fiscal performance is going down. These are the plain words. But there's something that is so eminent to sustainability of your debts, especially we can't talk about going to IMF without debt sustainability. So the question is our debt sustainable now? There are two ways to it. You have the principal, and then the interest that you are paying, and then the composition of your debt, whether they are concessionary debts or the normal investment debts. That is what you use to ascertain whether your debts are sustainable. What proportion of our total debt are concessionary, and what do we go to borrow on the private market? The truth is that the proportion of our private debts, or what we call the expensive debt, is increasing, because now we don't go to have a lot of debt from bilateral agreements, but we go to the private market, go to the normal private banks and go and borrow in terms of bonds and pay high interest on them. And that is what the problem is, especially when at the end of the first 6 months of 2021, more than 50% of your total revenue generated, that's over 15 billion Ghana cedis, was used to pay interest. So we all know that currently the figures are there to see. I mean, these are open secret. When we pick the total revenue that was generated from January to June, over 28 billion. Only two items, that is the wage bill and then the interest on loan. Even those two, when you add them together, you are talking about 29 billion. So our total revenue for the first 6 months cannot even recoup those two expenditure items, which are very, very important. And that is what investors are looking out for. Okay, because you cannot, we normally flag out these two items, because if I want to invest in Ghana, you know, our loans, the proportion of our loans to GDP determines the investment destination of investors, because they want to ask whether if I invest my money in Ghana, are they in a position to pay on time, especially the interest. As for the principal, it takes a long time, so that one we know it is well arranged for, but the interest on it, can you pay? And we would normally flag out the first item, because salaries are supposed to be paid every month. So even when you pay your salary, it simply means that you cannot pay all your interest on your borrowings, which simply means that we are at a very dangerous stage of our fiscal performance. That is what we need to, I mean, it's a plain truth. So very soon we may end up borrowing to even pay interest. Yeah. I mean, now, if you are tracking the performance of the government's fiscal performance, fiscal data, what it means is that once we absorb these two items, whatever we are going to do, you have to borrow. Yeah, you are a member of parliament, you know what I'm talking about. Whatever you have to do, you have to borrow. I mean, the schools you have to build, you have to borrow. The roads to build, you have to borrow. Everything you have to borrow, until the economy regains that stability. And that stability can only be regained, especially when you enhance on revenue generation. Very, very important. Now, what does IMF look out for? The Minister of Finance is now preempting what IMF would have done. Because when we go for IMF programs, bailout programs, the first thing is your wage bill. I think we are all in this country. We also, I mean, if not nothing at all, if you were not there before HIPIC, you should have been there during the Mahama era, where we ran to IMF for programs, for assistance. Normally when they come, what they do is that these two items are so important to them because it's a financial institution. If your salary, you cannot pay them, then you have to halt payment. And in some cases, you may be asked to even do retrenchment. Are we there? In fact, the truth is that we are there. We are there because I've given you two items: the wage bill as well as interest. Because whoever is coming to IMF is also interested in those they take their money to give. Send to Ghana as in the form of loans. So if you pay your salary and you cannot pay the interest, then in terms of debt portfolio, it becomes unsustainable. So I wasn't surprised at all that the Minister of Finance came out to tell Ghanaians the truth. That please, what we have gotten to, we've been impacted so much. And I think I was there. I sat throughout. He gave them some advice and also opened up a bit on the economy and how the COVID affected the plans of the government adversely, such that they have to go borrowing. And in actual fact, if you want to be fair to this government, if not for COVID, there were some loans and some expenditures that we wouldn't have incurred at all as a country. We wouldn't have gone into that. Okay? But the question is, when there are difficulties in your economy, what do you do as a manager of the economy? The first thing is to look at the livelihood of your people. And I sit here to say that the way and manner the COVID difficulties were managed in this country, we are better off than some of the countries. That is why we did not experience that rapid issue of protest in our environment as compared to other African countries. Because yes, indeed, we also saw that the government came out with some social, interventions, giving food and helping businesses to, in fact, reorganize their structures, especially assisting entrepreneurs. Okay. Monies were made available to some, even though some of the politicians will also come in, but monies were given to some entrepreneurs to be more creative. Today, if not for some of this assistance, Ghanaians, we are now producing our own, nose mask. There are a lot of things that were positive to our country in terms of innovation. Okay, so even though COVID was too much of an adverse, occurrence to this economy, there were some few things that I think were positive. However, the question as to whether we need to go to IMF for bailout, I am always not in favor of it, because often than not, the things that they normally recommend, we know them. In fact, we know them. It is just the political will to implement them. So what is the difference between going to IMF to come, direct you to implement what to sustain the economy, than doing it yourself? We need that political will to say that, look, this is the benchmark for our salary. We will not engage into these sectors. Let's depoliticize employment in the government sector.
Okay, Doc. Unfortunately, I wish I could just allow you to go on, but my time is not helpful to me.
All right.
So I think when we perhaps when we get to the point where there's an official position taken, we will bring you back to take us to exactly what has happened. But thank you.
All right. That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you, Doc. ALHAJI, I'll come to you shortly, but before I do that, Hadi in Pig Farm says a good morning. When Nanado had responded arrogantly to Ochihini or Santini like he did in response to the Aplau chief, next time when Ghanaians hear 4 more from the MPPAK, they will ask the terms and conditions. That's what it says. Koblavi Mpokwasi Bengazi, it says prospective students who were blocked of admission into law school must blame MPP government because they have grown corruption, selfishness, nepotism everywhere, which has spilled into the law school. I can boldly tell you that no student failed the law school entrance exam, but they predetermined to select some MPP fraternities and family members as qualifiers for the law course. Lagbaja is also joining us. Says, are you surprised this bad statement is coming from Nanado? Remember Victor Uso and Kobna Jepong? These people in MPP never respect we the Voltarians. I think this time for the youth of Volta to come together and defend our leaders and everybody in the region. Never again. ALHAJI.
Yeah, Sena. You know, a man who cannot carry his load blames his head part. See, Sena, as a man, when you are expected to perform your conjugal duties, if you are unable to do that, you blame errant mosquitoes. And mosquitoes in the room are disturbing you too much. If you are busy and worthy of your competence, you will not even notice the mosquitoes. That is where we are with the MPP today. Today, they are heaping every blame on COVID. And I'm not sure, Doc just mentioned what COVID has done. Nobody for once will say COVID has not had any impact. But to seek to blame COVID for your incompetence, your recklessness. Sena, before I go to my substantive listen, before COVID, we're doing a deficit to GDP of over 11%. Okay? Before COVID. So let nobody come and tell us that things were rosy or going well before COVID. Before COVID, we're having huge revenue shortfalls. Before COVID, we're having expenditure overruns. Before COVID. So they should not come telling us that this is the rate of depreciation of the cedi before COVID. So if you take the major economic indices, we're running low before COVID. In fact, we held a press conference in the minority to detail the serious economic malaise this country was going through before COVID. So COVID is just a convenient whipping boy to hide their incompetence and recklessness. Sena, let me make this point from the onset. Today we are suffering a huge policy credibility, and that's why we are going back to the IMF. You remember there was a Kenke party organized by the finance minister to celebrate what they called our exit from the IMF. You do remember that? So what party would they organize to take us back to the IMF? Look, I don't know whether we as Ghanaians we have a right to ask for that. Sena, just go back today and listen to the NPP before they came to power. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president, and Nana Akufo-Addo himself. Nana Akufo-Addo, you can hear him. Yetisika bebresu isukom diye. You heard that?
I didn't hear the bebre part. But
Yetisikasu. Sika bebre isukom diye. But today, Yetisika bebresu isukom kuye. Under his watch. To the point that they said that borrowing was an act of lazy governance. That's a lie. They said it was a mediocre government that engaged in borrowing and that the money was here. Coupled with that, they were going to deal with less taxation to spare production and economic growth. A lie. Under their watch, we have had the worst, the most reckless, irresponsible, mindless borrowing in the history of our country. So now when President Mama was leaving office, our total indebtedness from independence to 2017 January when he handed over was 120 billion. And take note, Sena, of that amount expected to be say what happened between the NDC 1 and 2, 74 billion. Sena, you could identify clear projects that the monies were used for, including our trouble gas today, which is saving us a lot of money and paying back a lot of the loans we took. It has more than Atuabo has more than paid for. and is generating more revenue for the country. All the e-blocks we are talking about, but for which presence we are doing double track. We have done tertiary or quintuple track. Okay, the hospitals that we are talking about, all these are products that President Mahama can showcase for that level of borrowing. The MPP cannot show. What can they show? When Kenofurata was asked to come to Parliament to tell us, all the thing they used to say was that free HHS. And we asked him, you should come and tell us how much we have spent. He came 3.6 billion. Finish. Today, as we speak, Sena, our total indebtedness, even without the amortization of the recent loans that we have taken, is 336 billion Ghana cedis. Listen to me very well. 336 billion Ghana cedis in 4 years. 4.5 years under Nana Akufo-Addo. The government, people who said the money is here, they will never borrow. Borrowing is an act of laziness and all those things. That is their track record. Sena, now just go and say, so I will say without any iota of hesitation, that the fallacy the MPP has been trumpeting that they are better managers of the economy. Sena, the indices speak for themselves. They say that the sweetness of the pudding is not in the aroma it emits, it's in the eating. Go and look at the figures that come out. Sena, the worst economic record in the history of this country is under Nana Akufo-Addo. Worst economic performance, growth, the worst economic growth rate in the history of this country has been under them, 0.4%. They can use COVID as a whipping boy. It doesn't change the fact. They have the worst record. The best economic performance record in this country is with NDC. Over 14% growth in 2011. The illustrious President Bills. May he soul rest in peace. Sena, so that is an irreversible record. They cannot take it away. And they cannot take away their shameful record of having the worst. Sena, they attribute it to COVID. Even Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, why? COVID, are they insulated from COVID? Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, all of them. They grew higher than Ghana. Some of them 2 point something percent. You were going for 0.4%, not even 0.5. 0.430.4%. The worst record in the sub. Ghana had the worst growth in the sub-region. How does that speak to your competence? So they are the worst managers and they are the worst plunderers of the economy. Look at the money they will go and give in the office of government machinery when all other districts are cutting down. Office of government machinery, over 600 million Ghana cedis. That's why the president is flying and he's bathing water on us in the sky. When all other institutions are undergoing this kind of austerity. So you can see, Sena, the finance minister says what? That the advice Doc said he came to give at his place. You see, leaders ought to lead by example. You tell people, just like MPP, they say we should tighten our belts. They are wearing trousers, there's no belt hook self. We will tighten into a less hole, they say drill another hole in your belt and push it further. So that you will be like a lady who wants to appeal this, to have a small wish, you go for surgery. Sorry. They want us to have a slim waist. But they are having obolo waist now. They don't have belt on. We have tightened it and we are boring holes in another descent. They don't have it at all. Sena, look at the extravagant, opulent lives they are living, led by our president. In the face of this hardship that we are talking about. So, Sena, we are measuring economic performance versus how it reflects in the true life of the people. Sena, if you go to the market today, prices are rising at rapid rates now. Even I'm sure those who calculate inflation, if they actually take it, they'll tell you inflation is on an upward spiral. Prices of goods, they change. You go to the market today, buy something, you go there the next week, the prices have escalated, gone beyond what you are recognizing. And so in the face of this reckless economic borrowing and poor shambolic economic management of the system, how do you expect youth, the advice that he gave the youth at his place, that they should no longer expect jobs in the public sector? Meanwhile, Sena, when it comes to their own children, there's room for employment. Honorable Osafumafo, do you know where they put his children? When they pronounce that there's no job, one is in top management at Senate, as he is a deputy director general. Okay? And another is at NCA, National Communication Authority. The same applies to a lot of their children and their cronies and concubines and others. When it is time, they can find jobs for them. When it is the generality of the people, the low, the oppressed, those who have nobody to speak for them, they tell you that the economy can no longer accommodate. I listen to Doc, and I've heard that this and that. In addition to, apart from compensation and interest payments, the two items alone eat up all our tax. That may well be true. Now, who has escalated our borrowing to such a reckless level that they are consuming all our taxes? It's the government. Though, if they had borrowed responsibly, the second part, which is outside compensation, and which is chopping more of the money than even the compensation, is the servicing of the interest on our debt. So if you have a very reckless government that can take borrowing from 120 billion to 336 billion in 4 years, what do you expect? Doc, from 120 billion, you escalate the debt to 336 billion in just 4 years. This one was throughout the entire period of independence. To this thing, independence 1957, Sena calculate 1957 to 2017. How many years? At least we should. My mathematics will be better than Jean Mensa. 43 plus 17 should give you 60. Is that not it? At least you won't declare one result in the day and come and change the results the next day. But it tells you that for the 60 years up to 2017, 120 billion, you escalated to 336 billion. That means the MPP alone in 4 years has taken 226 billion. 226 billion in 4 years. This is almost criminal. And so, if you are going to talk about interest payment on such a debt, what monies will be left? Is it not through your own recklessness and mindlessness and irresponsibility? So who should be held responsible? So what is now happening is that the advice was that youth should start their own businesses. God of mercy. Who are they sacking in the night, in the evening, and they are greeting good night? You are borrowing at that atrocious level and crowding out the private sector. Doc, I'm sure you know that fact in economics. When government goes to engage in profuse borrowing, it is crowding out the private sector. That means loans that will be made available to the private sector at very good rates will no longer be available. So if they cannot get those kinds of funds, how are they going to start businesses? A young man today who finishes school and wants to start a business, at what level is he going to borrow? What funds are available when government is taking away the money, is borrowing the money in the market, and preventing business people from accessing the funds?
You have to wrap up for me.
Oh, Sena, I just started.
No, I know you have not come to. No, frankly, because I have 20 minutes, and you know the difficulty. Now I have to, Mr. Pratt and Margot, I have to listen to the two of them. So I think you have to put aside your substantive and finish the agro, and then I would.
You see, let me just say that, Sena, if you have a situation where the banking sector, for instance, needed just about 9 billion Ghana cedis to recapitalize, the government ends up spending 23 billion Ghana cedis to collapse all the banks. Which economic sense? That even the most rabid capitalists, the United States of America, because like I'm saying, we are struggling to immunity. You cannot be more Catholic than the Pope. If you say tout your Catholic credentials, when you come to the Pope, you lie down, because he's the epitome of Catholicism. Today, MPP wants to be more Catholic than the Pope. They want to be more capitalist than America. America itself, Lehman Brothers, one of their leading banking issues, Lehman Brothers was going under. It took the state to recapitalize Lehman Brothers, because the Americans they realized that if the banks went down, it was going to affect adversely not only their image, but their total computation of funds in the US. It will affect jobs. It will affect so many things in the economy. So the American government, the US government found it rational to give a bailout. Okay, so they granted bailout to Lehman Brothers. Today, Lehman Brothers has more than paid back all the monies and is making profit, and the jobs have been guaranteed.
Okay,
in our case, in the typical of becoming more Catholic than the Pope, we said that we will collapse all the banks. Mindless decision making.
Thank you.
Vindictive as it was, also we shut down all the banks and took the opportunity to make sure that all of them went away, so that Data Bank, which is owned by Ken Ofurata and others, would have the leeway. Today, Sena, do you know that major insurance things that are done, including insurance for loans that we go to borrow, are done by enterprise insurance?
Okay, ALHAJI, thank you. Thank you.
Do you see the mindlessness of you that they've sent us?
Thank you.
So, Sena, I want to say without any iota of doubt that it is what we are going through today in the economy. It's not COVID. I will say it every day. COVID certainly has had an impact. But the real thing is due to the visionless, incompetence, recklessness, and mindless actions of the Nana Akufo-Addo by Bawumia government.
Thank you.
It is through them. And the youth of today now they are selling our heritage. Even the Minerals Stabilization Fund, the ones we have put in for the future of Heritage Fund, all of them, they have plundered all those funds. Okay. Leaving our youth reckless. So now my last one is that,
thank you.
Look, under President Mama, when they were complaining of hopelessness for our youth, they computed something and came out with 3,314 Ghana cedis debt for every Ghanaian. Today, that debt has risen to 11,000 Ghana cedis.
Thank you.
When you are born today, in fact, those whose mothers are pregnant, by the time they will be even carrying 14,000 today. Under Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia.
ALHAJI, thank you.
So, hopeless picture.
Thank you. Okay, so before I come to you, Margo, shortly. Keller says, imagine Kenke losing weight after planting for food. Then we are in trouble. It tells you real inflation on the ground is out of the roof. And also, Sam Banfo says, I bought cement at 32 Ghana when I came to Ghana in June. And now cement is 52 Ghana. Oh, why? Are we economically safe under this clueless president? Oh, Ghana, save, oh, God, save Ghana. You're saying, oh, Ghana, save Ghana. A few more. I think there's a Ben Dapo is saying MPP is a total mistake in the governance of Ghana's history. Seldor Glass says, Sena, COVID brought more blessings to the pocket of the government, which the president is hiring luxurious private jet at £15,000 per hour. The worst economy ever in the history of Ghana. I was thinking that doctor will mention concrete examples of pluses of the projects. If you don't know, he knows. So he should show us the projects and where they are built or being built. And then let me read, Dr. Percy sent a message a bit earlier. It says, in response to the demand of the paramount chief of Aflao, President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo was merely being his true self, arrogant and full of contempt for lower beings. Truth be told, Nana Addo and his political tradition, the NLM UP Matimi Hun gang, hold some people who make up our republic are simply non-Ghanaian. And that attitude holds for their traditional leaders as well. Margo.
Keke has called Koshako. Keke Koshako.
Sena,
And then Nana Akufo-Addo.
I won't even take much of Uncle Chrissy's time. And with Ghana likely going back to IMF, according to Beck's survey, Sena, the MPP government, we left an economy that was doing very well for them. That is why in few months, the economy grew over 7% in 2017. We gave them additional 2 oil fields that were functioning, stabilization fund 3, stabilization fund, heritage fund, Exim Bank, the funds that was in everything. We set everything in place for them. Before COVID came, the economy was already on its knees. COVID only came to amplify it, the inefficiency and the incompetence of this government. But Sena, the finance minister is telling the youth, to those who have entrepreneurial skills, because UPSA did not train them to become entrepreneurs. So those who have it like as a talent. So what about those who were not born with any talent and they are supposed to be corporate people? Aside that, now we have lost our credibility of even going out there to borrow. I think we have dropped about 5.6%. Yeah, so we are likely to come back to the local market and compete. So imagine government of Ghana competing with me, a young entrepreneur, to go and look for money to go and start a business. The government itself cannot help himself, and is telling me to go and how do I access loan to bring out whatever entrepreneurial skills that is in me, since the institution did not train me for it. Sena, MPP General Secretary, who is a shadow cabinet minister, told us, per the policies they have put in place, all the Ghanaian youth will be employed to an extent that there will be surpluses where we will import foreigners from other countries to come and work for this country. That is what we are waiting for. Me, whatever Ken Oforiatta says, whatever Lumberg or IMF, whatever, John Buedu, the General Secretary of the MPP, who has the ear of Nado Danko Akufo-Addo, their flagger, said all of us will be employed. And we will need other people. We will go to Togo, Benin, Burkina Faso, get artisans. They will come and work for us because all Ghanaian youth will be employed. That is what we, the Ghanaian youth, we are calling for and waiting for. We don't want any other story. We don't want to hear Ken Oforiatta giving us any story. We don't want to hear Nanado telling us something else. What they promised the Ghanaian youth is what we are calling for. But I will urge that the only alternative for this country is the NDC and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We have done it before. We did smart borrowing. UGMC Hospital is working and paying for itself. We did a lot of monumental earth-shattering projects that you can see. Nanado should touch something that he's built that we can see. And to end with it, my honorable friend here should know that Togbi Feti was telling us that in the flower and its environs, there are just about 2 secondary schools. So I was telling Nanado that he's not built a secondary school at Aflao, and the one that his predecessor has done, he should go and just continue it. Unless Dog knows the school that he's built, then probably Togbi Feti is looking for the keys. You can go and give it to him. And if a student goes to the lecture hall and there are multiple choice questions and the lecturer asks, which region was omitted from Ghana's 2020 budget? I don't think if you are not asked to expatiate or elaborate, the only region that you will write is Volta region. Thank you very much.
Well, Frangoka says, thank you, Margot. Says, reference Nanado's response to Togbi Feti, all I can say is that Kama is a sexy damsel who has visited and visiting, or who had one way or the other supported or contributed to his ascension onto the throne. Posterity remains the supreme justice. Kudos to Margot. Okay, I think there's one. Sena says, please tell Doc from UPSA not to waste our time and years. Does it take us Ghanaians for fools and illiterates? How were the COVID resources applied, and how much is the president with impunity not continuing to spend on chartering private jets on his trips abroad? He should spare us. That's from Sena. And then Habib Bantu says, good morning. Sena, did I hear President Akufo-Addo accusing President Mahama of why he built the Komenda Sugar Factory instead of growing the sugarcane first? Like, seriously, who does that? Our president really is an old school, because his suggestions do not make sense. No wonder the one district, one factory, Yamutu. Mr. Pratt.
Well, you cannot discuss the state of the Ghanaian economy in 12 minutes, you know. But I just want to state that I disagree with the Bloomberg analysis. The Bloomberg analysis simply says that we have borrowed so much that we would not be able to go to the bond market again. And for that reason, we have to go to the IMF. We can go to the bond market. What will happen if we go to the bond market is that the interest we pay will shoot up. Right now, Ghana is paying one of the highest interest rates in the world. Japan is paying less than 1% interest on what it borrows. Ghana is paying 19%. Even by African standards, Ghana the interest rates we are paying on loans is quite high. Now, in the light of our current situation, if we decided to go to the bond market, we'll probably be paying something in the region of 22%, 21, 22%, which will be very, very, very high. We understand. Now, what surprises me is that we have a government which came into power saying that increasing taxes and borrowing is the lazy man's option for generating resources for development. And in spite of that, this government has borrowed more than any government in our history. Now, if you take taxation, last Wednesday we were doing a little exercise. If you take cement, there are 18 different taxes and levies on cement alone. Now, this is a government which is frowning on taxation and so on. There are 18 different taxes on cement alone. Now, the state of the economy has been described, perfectly by the finance minister himself. The finance minister tells us that the public sector wage bill we've reached the zenith. We can't employ people anymore because if we employed, we will not be able to pay them. That is true. But the real truth is that even those we employ today, the 650,000 workers in the public sector, we have to borrow to pay them. That's how bad the situation is. You see, because if you took interest payments, debt servicing, if you took debt servicing and you added public sector emoluments, that alone eats up 128% of total national revenue. What it simply means is that if you're paying your debts, if you're servicing your debts, if you're just servicing your debts, and paying workers, total national revenue cannot support that. You need to borrow. I described it in more graphic terms, and I'm saying that if our president decides to visit Accra Girls Secondary School from Flagstaff House, we have to borrow to put petrol in his car. That's how bad the economy is. That's the state of the national economy. That's how bad it is. And in the light of this reality, I get completely surprised when I hear some people who should know better, especially those who have had more economic education than the rest of us, talk about the buoyancy of the economy, the promise of the economy, and so on. This is an economy which is shattered. This economy is in tatters. Recently, I was privileged to listen to Mr. Kwame Pianim, who is an economist and who is a founding member of the New Patriotic Party. And I was saying that talk about stabilizing the cedi, X him. He's saying that, look, we are spending millions of dollars of our foreign exchange to shore up the cedi. And he's saying that it is a criminal way to try and maintain the value of the currency. He says it's senseless. It doesn't make any sense to try and shore up the cedi by using our limited foreign currency. Is that the way to spend your foreign currency? You understand? Now, even as we have sunk millions of dollars in trying to shore up the value of the cedi, look at the performance of the cedi today. Today, the cedi is exchanging at, I think, 6.2. 6.2, 6.3 to $1. I mean, this is the state of the national economy. All the promises which are being made, Agenda 111 and so on, they cannot be fulfilled without borrowing. And the more we borrow, the more we sink. The hole in the economy is so deep. It's never been this deep in our history. We have never had this level of deficit. The hole in the economy is so huge. So if you're going to fulfill the promises made, Agenda 111, airport for Cape Coast, harbor for Cape Coast, and so on, if you're going to fulfill all of these promises, the hole is going to get deeper and deeper. The crisis, the national crisis, is monumental. You understand? Now, in this situation, what should we do? I have said repeatedly that it is obvious that this country is in an unprecedented crisis when it comes to the economy. And when you get to this stage, it is necessary to achieve a certain measure of national consensus. Because harsh measures may have to be imposed. You understand? And the achievement of the consensus is to enable us all to appreciate the depths to which we have sunk. You understand? This is what was tried with the Senche consensus, if you remember. And when the Senche consensus was proposed, there were some people in the New Patriotic Party who wanted to participate. They saw the need for it. They knew that we were running closer to the crisis and so on. The NPP actually issued a statement warning its members not to participate in the Senche meeting. Today, look at where we are. And the NPP needs all stakeholders. How is the NPP today going to convene a Senche meeting? It has become necessary to do one now. How is it going to do that when it rejected the one which was called during the tenure of I think, President Mahama, I believe President Mahama and so on? But that's where we are. You know, initially there were all kinds of funny publications by some foreign agencies and NGOs and so on, praising us that we're doing so well with the economy and so on. Today, nobody can dare do that because the hole is showing. The hole is showing. We cannot build one public toilet without borrowing. That's where we have come. We cannot complete the E-block at Aflao if we don't borrow. We cannot if we don't borrow. You understand? Now, very soon, if care is not taken, we are likely to have a chain of industrial actions. There are signs. The Ghana Medical Association has already warned that if its conditions are not met, they're going to lay down their tools. There's the ongoing negotiations with university teachers. It's there. Last week, mortuary attendants threatened to go on strike. Teachers are threatening and so on. Now, one of the noises we have made over the period is the fact that this administration has been able to restore nursing training allowances and teacher training allowances and so on. Go and ask them. They have not been paid. What is the value of allowances if they are not paid? What is the value of an allowance if it is not paid? If it's restored and not paid? Restoring it and not paying it is like not restoring it at all. You understand? And there's a lot of agitation on the labor market which would also go to worsen the current state of the economy. We're already in the doldrums. And industrial actions would only worsen the current state of the economy. So now, the only sensible path now is to call a Senche meeting. Bring organized labor, bring the 22 or 21 unions in the TUC, bring Ghana National Association of Teachers, bring Ghana Federation of Labor, bring NDC, bring CPP, bring PNC. Hey, even those two parties now, can you bring anybody? I don't know. But bring everybody to the table and say, look, let's speak facts, let's speak truth. Here we are. We cannot build a culvert if you don't borrow. We are spending 128% of total national revenue on two line items. We cannot engage people, you know, in the public sector because we can't pay them. There's no money to pay them. We cannot conclude, we cannot complete the E-block at Aflao and so on. So what do we do? Let us all agree that, look, between now and a certain period, there will be a wage freeze. If we all agree, you implement it. Because everybody is on the table, we agree. If we go and we say, no, we cannot afford a wage freeze, but let us insist that our president can no longer be driving around the country in a 55-car convoy. That will be the collective decision, and it has to be implemented. You want to talk about the president bathing in the skies? Talk about that yourself. That's not what I want to talk about. I should add it. But you had a chance to contribute to the discussion.
I want you to add it.
You want me to say that the president baths in the sky?
But you want to know that is compromising the integrity of the rainfall. When it's passing and the water is coming, is it rain or is bath water?
Anyway, Sena, finish.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. And let me, 2 messages from Facebook. This one is from Judy Mensah, who says, I suggest Ken Ofori-Atta refunds all the fees that went to his bank from all the loans. Jose Okran is saying, hi, Sena, there isn't much being said about the stabilization funds that exist to help the citizens buffer any sudden financial changes. Please ask the panelists. I'm dying to know what has happened. Unfortunately, my time does not allow me to ask any question or suggest anything. I was going to greet him, but he stand up and he sent a message. Says, Sena, I should be laughing by now, but because of my children and my children's children, I will cry. Ghanaians deserve what they voted for. Let's keep borrowing and using it to fly in gold-plated jets and borrowing to ride in Maybachs. Good for us. Let's keep using tribalism and ethnocentrism as the basis for voting for tribal world laws and not on the basis of ability to govern. Okay, and this one is from... Okay. Thank you. Well, let me announce that between 6 and 7, the Progressive Woman Show will be coming on. Today, I'm proud to be hosting Regina, Christine actually, who is the CEO, Lady R Real Estate Services Limited. And so she will be joining another guest, Shriwa Agnes Ampabing, who is the Executive Director of Slate Doors Ghana. They will be talking about women in entrepreneurship, solving the unemployment challenge, the key issues. So they'll be talking about what they're suggesting that the finance minister has made. Maybe there are ways through which as a lady you can go around it. So make a date between 6 to 7 and then today and then 8 to 9 p.m. on Monday. So they will do it today and there will be a repeat on Monday. Very, very importantly. And also at 8 p.m., Mr. Pratt will be hosting Talk Time, where we have a conversation. So do make a date with Mr. Pratt between 4 to 5. I believe there's diplomatic affairs that will be coming on. So to make a date with all the live programs that are coming up. ALHAJI and ALHAJI is not the last one. Pan-African TV works actively on Saturdays. There's a lot of live programs that will bring original content. Yeah. So original content that will be happening here. So stick and stay with Pan-African Television. But let me send my extend condolences to Mr. Nicholas Luguda, who has lost his mom. He was celebrating the daughter's birthday about 2 days ago. And my condolences to him. My condolences to the family of Philip Kobla Ameku, who is popularly known as Lakonzi, who's passed on, and also to believe Ajo Lochu, my friend's mother, who's passed on. Condolences to. The Ayarigas are burying their mother today. Okay. Our condolences to the Ayarigas.
Also, Mr. Francis Poku, former Minister of National Security,
okay,
will be observing his birthday tomorrow.
Oh, is he?
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. 80 years.
Yeah.
80 years.
Quite a young man.
They are growing, you
It's
know.
a very young man.
Yeah. Tomorrow. Like we like to say in this age, may God bless your new age. And we pray for many more years ahead for you. Mr. Francis Poku, who is a former National Security Coordinator. And let me say, former Minister of National Security. Okay. I just downgraded you. Former Minister for National Security. Let me say happy birthday to my very good friend, former colleague at Radio Gold, Joyce Vijay, who celebrates her birthday today. And also congratulations on the other thing which you haven't announced. So happy birthday and congratulations on the other thing. My name is Sena. Nombo. I was in the studio this morning with Mr. Kwesi Prajin. I was manager editor of the Inside newspaper. Solid means, like I said, clearly. And of course, ALHAJI ABF saying, oh, always wonderful to have ALHAJI in the studio. And then Dr. Mauto, Mensa Mauto has joined us. So student and lecturer are sitting on the same seat. Margaret and Margot. Well, a big thank you to all our partner stations, both One TV and 192.3 FM. There's several other partner stations that picked us live. A big thank you to my production team here at Pan African TV, led by Tijani. We are back same time next week with another edition of the show. A big thank you to the guys who put this furniture together. Today I did not have, but thank you. Thank you very much. God bless all of you.
He's the Redeemer.
There's a time when yes, Amasano, it has to end, okay? There's so much people don't know. Time management, reporting to your superiors, feedback to clients, just even patience.
Sometimes you actually have to get the experience from the corporate world to help you implement it with your personal business.
Well, they say it's a man's world out there, isn't it? Unfortunately, I don't know why, because we seem to be doing all the work. They are the head and we are the neck. Excuse me, can you be a head without a neck?
No, please. And no, please.
Yeah. The female aspect of us.
Attention to detail.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to say. You've said it. So now I'm talking to us women, because we have led that perception over time. I have had experiences with female bosses who are just obnoxious.
Well, I remember when I wanted to start this business, I had friends, I told a few friends about it, and it was shocking. They were actually teasing.